Tucson area's talk radio. Hosted by Dave Miller.
Iconic. That's a good word. It is. It's a good word. You know, this lady has got one of the most impressive resumes. I mean, she came into the industry and has done movies such as Private Passions. I mean, Young Lady Chatterley. I mean, good God, The Howling 2, which introduced me to boobies. I mean, I was a kid and I was like, what are those? Those are the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life, you know. And recently, you know, working with Rob Zombie on the Halloween at Grindhouse. I mean, there's so much stuff that she's been through and been in movies with so many different stars. Sybil Danning, thank you so much for spending a little time with us tonight.
Well, it's great being with you, Dave, and with all my fans out there. I want to say hello and happy Friday.
Absolutely. I'm sorry to take away from your Friday, but this is where I told I could fit into your busy schedule, so this is where we are. Listen, I mean, you've been around, and I'm not saying that you're old. Don't get me wrong, but you've been around for a long time. You've seen the industry. You know, now you got movies like Avatar where everybody acts in front of a blue screen or green screen. And you started back in the day where you were standing there literally in a couple of Band-Aids with a sword. You know, I'm sure that the directors back then would be like, oh, we got to shoot it again. We got to do it again. I mean, I would be like, hey, this woman's amazing looking. You know, you started things back in the day to where people today, I don't know if the actresses today can handle that kind of a grueling schedule.
Well, you know, first of all, green screen or a blue screen, I didn't have a screen at all. I mean, when you've worked in Europe, you are very humble and you're very thankful when you come to Hollywood because there, you just don't have the treatment and you don't have the budget and you are doing your makeup with a mirror hanging on a tree and clothing behind a wall somewhere, changing your costume for the next scene. You don't have a honey wagon. You don't have a private, you know, wagon. So I think when you have the background that I've had coming from Europe, starting my career in Europe, it was a very humbling experience, and my mother always taught me to be thankful and to be respectful. And when I came to America, I appreciated everything. And I always said, you guys don't know how good you have it here, you know?
Right.
This has become my home now, and I love it. And yes, I've been around. And, you know, experience is something that also humbles you because you know what's going on, and for that reason, you don't lose your head and you keep your feet on the ground.
Right. Now, The Howling 2, which I said in my introduction, which I wasn't trying to be, out of line, but holy moly. I remember when I was a kid and I just said holy moly because your boobs did that to me when I was a kid. I could not believe.
Well, the three movies... Well, Dave, I have to just interrupt you, excuse me, for 1 second, because the three movies that you just mentioned in the opening, I thought, so you saw the sexy ones,
I had no choice. I mean, I loved horror movies. I still do to this day. It's something that I do a lot of the Netflix and all that stuff, and I go right to the horror section, and I just want to start watching that type of stuff. But when I saw those movies as a kid, I was just like, oh my God, that woman, she's so beautiful. What is going on here, you know? So I know that you've influenced a bunch of people in different ways through your career. and you pick up steam as you're going. I mean, you've been in movies, like I say, Howling 2 with Christopher Lee, who was another iconic actor. I mean, your career picked up steam, and you keep going stronger, as to where you see today's actresses and actors. They come out with one or two movies, and they just kind of, you see them, and then they're at McDonald's, or not to literally, but they just disappear. They don't have that longevity. What's your secret to staying relevant?
Well, I don't think there's any secretive method or elixir, to that. I think it's just probably, again, it goes to my upbringing that if you want something, you work hard for it, and you have to believe in it. And more so ever to kids out there and young people that want to get in the business, it has become so difficult. And the most important thing that my own rules are, you want something, you have to work hard for it. You want it, you have to stay with it, you have to not give up, and you just have to keep going and believe in what it is that you have set your goal for, and then go for that goal.
Right,
and
right.
That's very important.
Right. And now, like we're talking about with young people getting into Hollywood, I mean, just recently there have been attacks upon attacks. I mean, actors from, George Takei to Harvey Weinstein, just out of nowhere, this bomb kind of went off. Corey Feldman, which I believe is a friend of yours as well, he's been talking about coming forward and doing this project, this movie about, the pedophiles and the dark side of Hollywood. How did you navigate through all that garbage?
Well, I can tell you one little secret, and that's all I'm going to tell you. But then again, you have already, kind of aged me in your, I've seen this, and wow, when I was a little kid, that. It's like when my fans come up to me, and say, oh, I saw you in Bluebeard, and I say, oh my God, you must have been in diapers when you saw that, okay? So that goes for you too, Dave. Okay?
No, I'm 47. I'm 47.
Oh.
I've been, yeah. Oh, did you hear that, everybody? She goes, oh. I'm 47, and like I say, I mean, there's movies that you've done through your. I mean, we're talking reform school girls here. I mean, that was the thing coming through the 80s. I was a teenager in the 80s, and it's just that you were just always there. You're always, and you're still there. That's my amazing, that you don't end up on TMZ on the negative side, the dark side of Hollywood. You just keep relevant and strong, and you stay away from all that stuff. As to where you hear, these actresses coming forward now in this day and age in Hollywood, to where they're saying this guy did this or that guy did this. I'm sure back in the 80s Hollywood was way different than what it is now. Now people make movies on YouTube and they become famous.
Well, this is what I was almost going to get to before. When I came to Hollywood, if you're over 20, you're old. So that kind of helped, that kind of helped me because really what's happening today is against young women or even young boys. And I think that's one of the reasons. The other reason is I was always strong. And when I saw a situation coming up, I just walked out of its way. And I sometimes and probably chose the more difficult path, or at least I didn't want to try out and say, oh, if I do this, it'll help my career, or if I do that, it might hurt my career. I just walked out of the way and did my thing, went for my goal, worked hard, did it the hard way. Basically, I chose the hard way, but I don't regret one day of it. And again, it goes back to believing in your goal and working hard and just trying to stay out of the way, because it's tough enough to stay in shape, stay focused, work hard, and just keep moving yourself and growing.
Right.
Because you have to either be acting, or then when you get older, you can't sit back and cry and say, oh, I don't get that role, or that's happening. You say, okay, so I'm going to write my own story. I'm going to direct myself. I'm going to make a little movie. You have to keep focusing on the positive. That's what I do. And that's hard.
When you're not in movies or in production, you write, you do all kinds of stuff. You stay everything in the business, right? Everything you do, you either write, or I've noticed that you go out and you do the fear cons or the paracon kind of deal where people can actually come and meet you, and that's an honor as well, because like I said, people grew up. You have been a part of my life in movies as far as being a horror fan. It's like I could just be scrolling through and I see your face on the movie poster. I go, play. I just click the play button because I know I'm going to be entertained, So that longevity and staying out of the negative side of things is an extremely an impressive thing to accomplish in Hollywood today. I mean, it's just everybody seems to be attacked for something.
Well, this even in the 80s, things were different. It was always crazy in Hollywood, but I always said I don't have to go out and throw spaghetti in somebody's face or get naked on the dance floor to get some PR.
Right.
I always loved my business, and for some reason, like yourself, Dave, and thank you for this, the press always loved me. So if I did something, I want to include Roger Ebert, who has actually, one of my movies said the movie is really lousy, but Sybil is great and she deserves better.
Absolutely.
So I always felt, I need to do my craft because the press was there for me. So I just needed to work, and I didn't need to do all that other crazy stuff and didn't want to. And my fans were there. The fans, without the fans, we are nobody. So,
right.
But if I do my craft right, fans like you are there. You want to see it. And it's a beautiful, positive circle of positivity.
Right. So I got to tell you, with Halloween, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about that, as far as Rob Zombie and stuff goes, but I didn't even know that you were in the movie. I missed your name in the beginning or whatever, and when I saw you, I was just like, oh my God, I might like a Rob Zombie movie now. It was an amazing performance. I mean, you looked great, by the way, and still do. But what was it like? Did you Rob Zombie, you were like that crazy guy that does the music, is making movies, and it actually was a pretty damn good movie.
I think it was a wonderful remake of John Carpenter's movie. And,
it was brutal too. Brutal.
Yes. Well, that's also Rob. But, he is in person a very kind and very wonderful director, very understanding director. And it was fantastic working with him. When I met him because I told a friend of mine, I don't know if you've ever had Ken Foray on, but I said, I really love him. I want to work with him. I saw you probably loved it too, The Devil's Advocates.
Absolutely.
And give me his number. He said, no, I can't give you the number, but I'll tell him. A week later, I get a call from his office. I'm there at the studio. I thought I'm meeting him. He already had me in a wardrobe room and makeup room, and he's holding two wigs, and he says, hi, Sybil, these are the two wigs that you and Sherry are going to wear. You're going to play the Krupp sisters, and that was for Werewolf Women of the SS.
Right.
In Grindhouse. And before I left, I saw these pictures on the wall for Halloween, which he was going to do afterwards. And I said, I'd really love to be in Halloween. And he said, Sybil is already cast. I said, I see that, but maybe you can find something. And he says, let me think about it. So as we're shooting Werewolf Women of the SS, one day he knocks on my trailer. Notice I have a trailer now. He knocks on my trailer and he says, Sybil, I've got the role. And then he hands me the script. Unfortunately, after we finished not Amazon, Werewolf Woman of the SS, when we finished doing that, and we shot Halloween, and I was given my screenplay, the role was smaller than it turned out to be. So for whatever reason, Sherry was then in the scene with me. At the beginning, it was just Malcolm McDowell, Dag Ferch as little Mike Myers, and me. It was just between the doctor, and the little weirdo,
right,
Mike Myers,
right,
and me, the nurse Ranchid, right? But it ended up being very small, but everyone loved it. And yes, like you said, if you blink twice, you missed me.
Well,
and I want you to know something. You said I look good. You know what? Rob was in that makeup room, and he was in the wardrobe room, and he says, I don't care what you do to Sybil, but she cannot be beautiful. She cannot be sexy. So
bullshit. That's big bullshit.
That's what he did.
Because I was like, oh, she's a nurse.
Not a sexy one, that's for sure.
It's just like I say. I mean, obviously Rob had the same type of approach with it, because if somebody, if I was a director and Sybil says she wants to be in my movie and I'm making a horror movie, she's in the movie. That's all there is to it. And that's pretty much how it happened, obviously, because, I mean, he'd have to be a moron to say, I don't got a part for you. Because you've got you've got 80, almost 90,000 followers on your Twitter. That's amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I kind of stalked you a little bit.
Oh.
Well,
you're the stalker. Okay.
No, not that way. But I had to do the internet searching, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to come at you with some halfway decent winged questions, because I don't do any scripting for this show. I just talk to people that I really honestly have enjoyed through my life. And you're one of those people. You're an icon who has just keeps going, and I don't mean that in the way that you should stop. I'm just like, she just keeps getting better and better. You're like wine.
Thank you.
Thank
you. And as long as my fans want me to keep going, I will.
So, at any of the cons, have you ever met anybody a little bit off that you were like, maybe I shouldn't be doing these?
No, actually, I've never met, I either have my bodyguard with me or they have guards around, but my fans are not, they don't really come up and give me the feeling that they're going to kill me or something.
Right.
I think they've seen my movies, No, it's the other way around. What I've noticed is most fans are normal, or they come up and they're macho and they're, oh yeah, I'm so and so, nice meeting you, and
right.
Or they're very shy, and I get a lot of that. Very shy young men, not so much the older men, but young men are very shy, and it's kind of, I stole my father's Playboy and saw you,
right.
kind of.
Right.
So it's cute to see that, and then they blush and they get all red in the face, and so I find that very, very charming.
Honestly, you are an iconic sex symbol. I mean, I'm telling you right now. I told my wife when I walked in here, I go, babe, I'm telling you, when I was a kid, my mom had a coat, and it was a werewolf.
Really?
You were there for me. You were the woman that introduced me to how cool boobs are, and and on top of that, the movies are cool. Mm-hmm. Now on your Facebook page, it says the Queen of the B flicks and all that. Okay, that's fine. But I don't consider anything a B flick that you're in, because it's so a part of my life. I love horror movies, and it's very rare that you get some huge Hollywood budget to make a horror movie. So what you guys have done in the past with everything that I'm looking at on this, you've got 81 credits on your IMDb page. That's just
Wow.
astonishing. I mean, I'm looking at you. You were in movies with Lou Ferrigno, Battle Beyond the Stars. I mean, just tons and tons of things here on this page that, I mean, Airport 79, the Concorde, you know, I mean, you're in everything that was through my childhood, my teenage years, and into the adult life. Again, when I talk about the longevity of it, it's just because I think that you are approachable and people do want to talk to you. But you know what? I mean, when somebody comes up to you and they're shy, it's probably because they did do things to the Playboy.
That's all right. That's okay.
Right.
And I love meeting my fans in person. It's wonderful.
Right. So, as far as writing and stuff like that, I mean, we were talking a little bit before we went live. I mean, I don't want to ask anything that I'm not supposed to ask, but you are writing some books.
Yes, I am. I started a memoir book, and I have a wonderful editor-in-chief. He wrote the Elvis Presley books and also other wonderful stars' books. And he told me, he said, Sybil, you know, maybe you ought to stop, because I said to him, where am I going to put all my pictures? He said, you got to do a picture book. So now I've laid the one book aside. I'm going to continue with that, and I'm doing a picture book right now. But besides that, which is taking all my time right now, is I'm co-writing a screenplay with another writer, and it's a vampire movie. And I have this idea.
That's not gonna suck. I'm sorry. I had to say that.
Oh, or maybe it will.
Right.
Be careful.
Right.
Yeah. Because a dear friend of mine, Stan Lee, we bump into each other all the time, and we've been great admirers of each other's work. And he told me not so long ago, you know, we bumped. He said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I have this idea for a vampire movie. I want to do it." And he said, "I want to be in it, but only if you bite me." And I said, "You got it. I'm going to bite you, Stan."
That's awesome.
You're not pulling my leg. He said, no. He said, but just write it, because, you know, I'm very, very busy. So I said, I will. So now I have the burden to find something in there, which I'm working on now, in this great idea that I have to put Stan in there.
That's amazing.
And I'm doing it, and I'm working through it. It's about halfway there, but I have to do it because, you know, I love Stan, but he's up there in age, and I want to get him as soon as we can, because I had a you know, something which you'll be happy to know. The director of The Howling 2, Philippe Mora, and I told him, I said, listen, Howling 2 is doing so well, let's do another one. And Gary Brandner, who wrote all the Howling books, came on board. He said, we can't do a Howling in the name because the rights are tied up, but we can do another werewolf movie. So he wrote a screenplay, and then Gary Brandner died. So we have this project now, and there was a role in there that I wanted for Christopher Lee. He would have played my father in there.
Right.
And now it's, you know, it's too late. So
right.
It just goes to show you that you can never put anything aside. If you want to do something, there it goes back to do it, and, you know, set your goal and do it, because there might not be a chance later on.
Now, you and Christopher Lee were in, I think, 3 or 4 movies together. You were obviously pretty close with him.
Actually, if you add them all up, it's about 5 movies.
Okay,
yes.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, I count the 3 and 4 Musketeers as 2.
Okay.
2 movies.
Okay.
So you're correct. Yeah. Yes, Christopher and I were very good friends, and also I was very good friends with his wife. I loved him dearly. He was a wonderful guy. He did everything his wife. He did nothing his wife did. She did everything he didn't. He would just tell stories and stories of all of his wonderful movies. We would sit there, and Gita, her name is Gita, she's Scandinavian, she was a model in Paris, beautiful woman. We'd play cards, we'd smoke cigarettes, and we'd drink wine, or we'd have some whiskey, and we did everything. And Christopher did none of that. He didn't gamble, didn't smoke, didn't drink. He just sat there and told his wonderful stories in his wonderful voice.
How did you feel about a couple of things? How did you feel about, one, him doing the heavy metal record? Because I fucking love that record. I was like, this is the coolest stuff I've ever heard. But I was amazed at the time, because Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, he is major villains in both of these blockbuster movies. I mean, it just had to be surreal, because keeping relevant and keeping out of all the BS that's going on in today's world, where you have paparazzi just constantly in your face or waiting for you to do something wrong. You know, how did you feel about the metal record, and in seeing him pick up this steam with these huge blockbuster movies?
Well, first of all, you know, he sang in Germany. He sang like opera. He has an incredible voice. And so whatever Christopher does, I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. I had like 3 or 4 offers to do a record, and I always turned it down. So I think it's wonderful that he did that. But, you know, it's very interesting, because Lord of the Rings, Christopher moved from London to Los Angeles, and then one day we were talking, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Sybil, I'm going to leave L.A." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because Hollywood is just making movies for 16-year-olds." And I said, "Well, what are you going to do? Go back there and do Shakespeare? I mean, this is what you love doing, movies, and you have fun doing it. We had already done The Howling, so that's not exactly Shakespeare either, right?"
Right.
So then he goes back to London, and what does he do? He does Lord of the Rings for 16-year-olds, right? So that's why I told him, I said, you had to go back to London to do that.
Right.
So, you know, I think he was just homesick. He was homesick. He loved London.
Right.
He's very, very elegant in his ways, and there I'm happy that that's where he closed his eyes, because he was happy in London.
Right. Very sad when he passed. I was, and again, you know, like you talked about with Stan Lee. I mean, it's amazing that, you know, most people say, "I'm going to call Bob or Bill and see what they're doing." You're like, "I'm going to call Stan Lee and have lunch," and then, you know, obviously prior to his passing, "I'm going to call Christopher Lee and go have a glass of wine." Or, I mean, the circle of friends that you have, even on your Facebook, it shows that, I mean, you are in deep. You have so many allies, as well fellow actors and actresses that, which I got to ask you about that, but fellow actresses and actors that have also steered clear of the paparazzi drama of the Kardashian type of world, and actually done their art. Now, is it offensive to call a female actress an actress? Because I've seen this whole thing come up that female actresses don't like to be called actresses. They want to be called actors as well.
You know what? I really don't care. I think it's whatever makes you feel comfortable. I mean, you know, I've been very strong. I've been out there for women's rights, but I've never been a feminist. I did Playboy when feminists came out and said, she's doing nudity and she pretends to be a strong woman. And I said, hey, if I want to take my clothes off, that also belongs to my rights, what I want to do with my body.
Right.
So, you know, I don't think you need a title to be strong. So if you're called actress or actor, who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you know what? In today's age, the sensitivity just kind of took over, didn't it? It just kind of took over, and you can't offend anybody. Now, the things that we used to be able to say, and I say we because I've never been in, but the things that you used to be able to say in movies and do in movies are just taboo now. Nobody wants to mess with that because, we can't offend anybody. You know, is there an offensive bureau in some of these movie companies that say, well, we can't do this scene because so-and-so says this or does that because they're going to offend somebody and then nobody's going to watch our movie. But and then same thing. How do you feel about politics? The politics and you see this all over Facebook, to where these actors and actresses come out and they say, "Well, I don't like President Trump, and you shouldn't vote for him." I mean, where did all this come from? When in the 80s and 90s, I never heard any actors, period, get involved. But now they're coming out and they're laying their career on the line to say, don't like this guy and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, well, everything has become very much more intense. I mean, just look what's happening. This has never happened. This whole sexual harassment, this has become, this is just a snowball. And in all wakes of life, not just Hollywood. Hollywood opened up, and now it's all the way up to the Senate and
Al Franklin. Al Franklin.
Yes,
oh my God!
Yes,
what was he thinking? Take my picture. My hands are on her boobs. What a moron!
But you know what? I wanted to say too. I think it's we call it politically correct or politically incorrect.
Right.
And I think it's come to a point where, I mean, I went to a screening the other evening and I met someone I haven't seen in a long time. And I just sat there and I put my hand on his knee. Okay. I'm so happy to see you again. And at that very moment, I swear, I pulled it back and I said, Robert, I'm so sorry. I'm not supposed to do that anymore. So don't you go out there tomorrow and say that I sexually harassed you because I had my hand on your knee, okay?
Right.
And we laughed, But this is what's happening now. It's so ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, I don't want it to mean anything. I think when things do happen, it should be all corrected and people should be accountable. I believe in all that. But when you say, have I gone through that in my movies? You've seen my movies.
Absolutely.
You think somebody's going to say, oh, Sybil, I don't think it's correct that you undress and take your top off. Not in my movies. I don't see it in my movies.
You're like, are you kidding me? Lefty and righty right here. We're about to go and make some money because, no, I mean, in all due respect, okay, you're a beautiful woman. You are a iconic sex symbol. I'm sure time and time again through your career, whether they were fellow actors or executives, have always tried to, hey, I got to get Sybil. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is that if you say no, no is no. You know what I mean? Hey, I ain't interested in you, dude. You got 3 nipples and 2 eyeballs above your eyeballs. So we're not interested. But that whole movement of back in the day to where we understood a sense of humor. There was a such thing as a joke. You could say a joke without offending somebody. But now if you tell a joke and somebody's offended, I see YouTube clips after YouTube clips of, stand-up comedians out in clubs and they tell a joke. Somebody gets mad. They stand up and they throw a drink in the guy's face because they cannot handle the humorous side, and it's nothing malicious, but how do you do that when you're thinking about writing something or when you're reading a script now? Are you saying, well, I don't really want to get involved in this because of, I don't want to offend this group or that group, And now through the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you always knew that somebody was either gay or straight, which big deal. Who cares? Okay, that's somebody's sexual preference, no big deal. But in this day and age, now everybody's got a big, huge sign up that says, I'm gay and you can't do that. So when you're reading for parts or you're looking into movies, do you ever really think about, maybe I shouldn't do this because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I mean, what I'm writing right now, I got something for everybody in there. I can tell you that.
Right.
I have no boundaries, and I'm going all out. There's been so many vampire movies, so I said, if I don't become very courageous, it's going to be boring, okay? But when I read a script, and believe me, I get so many offers, and as you see, I don't do very many movies because if the subject matter doesn't interest me, the story doesn't interest me, and my role doesn't interest me, and I'm always thinking my fans don't want to see me in this because I've had people come with a script. Oh, you play the mother here, but you're a wonderful mother in there, and I said, I don't think so. I don't think my fans are going to run out there and want to see me, be a mother baking cookies, So I'm always thinking also bottom line. Who's going to go see this with me in it? Can I contribute to this movie? I don't think so. But what I do look in a movie, and I have to tell you, usually the movies I get are very commercial. I mean, they're not, it's not like I'm not getting Shakespeare. So when I get projects, they're usually very, very commercial projects. So when you read a commercial project and it is, for instance, a horror movie, okay, and they tell me, oh, play this role, and you happen to get killed, I turn it down not because there's violence in there, because when you're going to see a horror movie, that's what it is. I turn it down because, and I've done that, because they're saying to me, and I said, which role did you want me to play? Oh, her. I said, well, she gets this and that, and then killed by the bad guy. He said, yeah, exactly. I said, no, I don't want to do that. Make me the killer, because I want to always, when I can, be a role model, and I have tried to do that, and many times I've done that, whether it is I decide who I go to bed with, or I decide who I kill, or Howling 2, Queen of the Werewolves. There's never been a blonde werewolf queen, right?
Right. So
I'm the one doing the killing, because in horror movies, let's face it, it's usually the women that get killed, and men are the killers. So I'm still, that's what I think of. Can I, as Sybil Danning, continue to be a role model in some role in this project, to further women being strong and standing up for their rights? And for instance, after I did Chained Heat, and I'm in there, fighting Tamara Dobson, then fighting Stella Stevens, I was in a restaurant, and a young girl comes up and she does a double take, and she says, oh, you're Sybil Danning. I said, oh, I saw Chained Heat 5 times, and you know what? I was going to lose my job. But I said, no, I'm going to be Sybil Danning. I'm going to fight for it. And she says, you know what? Thank you so much. You know what? I was strong, and I went in there and I said, I want this job, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to fight for it. And I kept my job. So, if I can help one girl like that by a movie where I went on and talked about Chained Heat, and they said, so everybody should see it. It's out in the theaters. I said, oh yeah, it's a family movie. And
right.
The guy who was interviewing me actually said, what family? The Manson family? I said, no. You learn to fight. You learn to fight for your rights, okay?
Right.
So,
right. Without playing in traffic, you can fight for your rights without holding people up.
Yes.
So what do we have to look forward to? We got you got the one book on the back burner. We've got, you're talking about doing a movie with Stan Lee. You've got the picture book. Yeah. Oh my goodness. When can we look forward to seeing the picture book?
Well, my editor's very angry with me because I'm a year back already. I'm behind a year. No, I have to tell you, it's because I lost my mother this year, and for 1 year she was in and out of the hospital, so I dropped everything and was with her. I'm
so sorry to hear that. I as well as myself, about 6 years ago, and it seems about it's just something you don't get over. So I am sorry.
Yeah. But I am picking things up now as she would want me to. She loved the business, loved me being in the business. And so once I have this, I don't know. Once I finish this script, which I want to finish as soon as possible, that I have already pitched to a very major company in Hollywood, and they're waiting to see it, then I will focus on my book, and it will be finished in 2018, but I don't want to say when. But I'm going to work very, very diligently. It's very difficult because I have slides and pictures and clippings, and I have so much material in so many different boxes and files, and it's just very difficult to get everything together, but I am probably, book.
Have you ever Googled yourself?
I beg your pardon.
I
have never done that to myself.
You've never. Have you ever Googled your images? There are so many images of you on Google. It's amazing. Have you ever...
They're illegal. Illegally, so I don't get involved in that. Like I said, I have to move forward. I'm moving forward and doing things. I don't have enough time to do positive things to go forward. I can't figure that one out.
Right. You're like, I've never Googled anything.
No, I do Google, but I have had no reason to Google myself, excuse me. But I am because you're asking me what I'm doing. I'm very, very happy and very proud of, I don't know, did you see, probably not, because it isn't a sexy movie, not from me, but I have sexy girls in there. Did you see LA Bounty?
LA Bounty. I want to say yes. I see. I am a Kodi junkie. Kodi is a movie streaming site. I have seen so many movies. To title it, I'm not sure, but it sounds super familiar.
Okay. I am a LAPD cop who turns bounty hunter. When I bring in Wingshauser, wonderful actor that I love and a great guy, Wingshauser, and don't read him his Miranda rights, so he gets let out of jail and I'm thrown off the force because I didn't read him his Miranda rights. My name in the movie is Ruger, like the German gun.
All right.
And I own that character. So LA Bounty was very successful all over the world. And no, you didn't see it because I wear a turtleneck sweater and jeans and boots.
No.
I drive a pickup truck, okay? And I shoot a 12-gauge sawed-off shotgun, okay? That's not so sexy to some people, but
I'm going to tell you honestly right now. I just clicked the name on your IMDb page. I have seen that movie. There you go.
Okay.
So, yeah, I see you there with the big gun and you're all... It's not quite as fun as some of the other outfits that you've worn, but I've still seen it.
Well, I was really fighting my producers, who one of them was also a distributor, and he came and we were already shooting, and he said, really, you could still change and at least wear a leather outfit and in an outfit, in one of the scenes, or maybe while you're waiting, put some lipstick on, something feminine, because you're really so out of your normal sexy thing, and I'm concerned about your fans. And I said, I think I should put my lipstick on while the bad guys get away, okay? And that's exactly what would have been the wrong thing to do. He wanted me to wear some sexy leather stuff, and I said no. And when I went through the Bible Belt in this country and I promoted all over the country, they loved it. And they loved it because I was who I was. I was one of them. But the character in there is called Ruger, and I took that character. I have a new screenplay now, and from that screenplay is now a comic book that is out. It's called Ruger. Comic book is called Ruger, and it picks up where I left off as a bounty hunter. The first issue is out. The second one is in development. And I am going to be talking in December to a company to do a movie. So I'd like to do a movie. They're talking maybe TV series. And I said, I really don't care. We could do a movie, TV series. So it's going to be a TV series or a movie and a video game.
Does it blow you away that how much more in this day and age you can get away with on TV? Like stuff that you used to only be able to do, basically, PG 13, 14, and almost R-rated stuff going on some of these TV shows. How do you feel about that? Like, like they put their guards down. The censors have put their guards down, and you can actually do. So is that why you're more willing to do TV?
No, I just feel that it gets it made. Okay,
Right,
I'm being
right.
very, very honest. It gets it made because to get a big movie made out of that, it's very difficult. Because my I'm not Marvel. My comic book is not Marvel. So even though my movie did very well, it was sold all over the world. It went into Russia with Rambo and Commando. Only 5 movies went to Russia when the wall went down. This is when those movies were sold. So I just want to get it made because that's the name of the game. I keep wanting to do things, and now I have my vampire movie. Television is just a way of more easily getting it made, and in the long run, more people are going to see it.
Right.
So I'm okay with that. And actually, when I came to Hollywood, I was offered a 5-year deal at Universal, and it was a 5-year wonderful deal where I could have, had a very nice life. And when people were saying, hey, there's 5,000 actors not working in Hollywood, and I said, so what? I'm just going to work a little harder. And I was doing, you mentioned it, Airport the Concorde, and I sat with my wonderful co-actor, oh my God, Green Acres. Now we're playing charades. What's his name? Wonderful.
It's okay.
Oh,
it's okay.
I just forgot his name.
You've been in 81 movies. It's okay to take a little. I'll help you out here. Let's see.
Green Acres. I know you're too young for it, but you know who he is.
Yeah, the gray-haired guy, the guy that talked to the.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, the guy that talked to the pig or.
Eddie.
Hey.
What's his name?
I'm looking.
No. I keep saying Eddie Arnold. Oh my God, yeah.
No, I'm working on it. You know what?
Okay,
if you weren't in so many damn movies, I would be able to find this pretty easy. But I'm scrolling through 81 movies here to find it. So shame on you for being so successful.
But he's the one. We sat in his trailer. Well, he played my husband in Meteor. Okay, and I showed him my contract, and I said, "Listen, you know your way around Hollywood." I said, "Should I sign this?" He read it. He said, "Sybil, don't do it." He said, "You're big stuff. Don't do TV. They will, they'll put you only in TVs. They'll never put you in a movie." And it might have been a mistake. I don't know, but I don't like to look in hindsight.
I'm looking at George Kennedy, Robert Wagner. Holy smokes, there's a lot of people in this movie. There's sexy Sybil Danning. Oh, my goodness, is she something else?
Go to the top. What's his name? Go to the top.
The list. Very top is Alan. There's got Susan, Robert Wagner, George Kennedy, Eddie Albert. Yes! I did the pig guy. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. But Eddie Albert, I'm sorry. You have a lot of information to look up. I'm not that quick of a clicker.
But you see, to get back to your question, I could have done television, and then I would have had a television name, which I don't have. I did a lot of wonderful, just guest shots. I always wanted to do movies because I came to Hollywood to do movies, not television. And at that time, it wasn't sexy to do movies. Now, I mean, if Jerry Bruckheimer is going to do movies, everybody started doing movies, and now to do movies to do television is a good thing,
right?
And so I really don't care, but I know this person. I've worked with him before, and I very much look forward to working with them to make this make it successful. So Ruger is out there. Issue number 2 is in development. Then comes issue number 3, and then it's going to be a graphic novel.
That's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to see that book. I can't wait to see it. Sybil, I can't wait to see the book.
Okay.
So let me ask you real quick. We got a couple of minutes left. By the way,
Dave, if you go on my website, you will see the comic book there.
Absolutely. I'm going to go check it out as soon as we're done here. Let's talk about Playboy real quick. What was that like for you? The whole Hugh Hefner thing, and you know how we all know, we've all heard and read the stories about hands-on Hef, but what was that experience like for you? How did it affect your career? Do you think it helped you? Do you think it hurt you? How do you feel about the Playboy thing? Would you do it again?
Well, first of all, in the age of 2017, October, November, that we're living in right now, Hugh Hefner is a saint.
Right.
Because
right.
he didn't grope women. He didn't force himself on women. He adored women. He cherished women. He loved women. Okay, his whole life was women. We saw that, and I was very happy that I was able to be in the magazine, starting with Marilyn Monroe, who I loved very much. It was an honor for me, and when I did it, I mean, I won't go into all the details. I got a great deal, and it went worldwide, and I was secured the cover, which never happens, and I had demands for the photographer and everything. I got everything I wanted, and with 10 pages inside, and one of the top grossing magazines ever.
Right.
I was invited to his parties, to every single party, his Mardi Gras in February and birthday in April, and then the beautiful summer nights party and the Halloween parties, and the most beautiful one, the New Year's party. And he always, always cherished me and thanked me and was very loyal to me and invited me to every party because my magazine made him a lot of money.
Right. Absolutely it
because
did.
He was loyal to everyone I was his family. I became his family. I wasn't
Right.
a bunny. I was a celebrity spread. But his bunnies were his family. Celebrities who were in his magazine were his family. And he was a wonderful man.
Are you still with me?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just going to ask you, are you there?
Yeah, something just buzzed out like big time. I don't know what that was about, but I'll have to punch somebody for that in the future. But okay, one last question, and is you're a sex symbol icon. How difficult is it to do sex scenes in the movies?
Oh, I think that was one question. To me, it's not difficult at all because, remember, I come from Europe, and in the 70s there were a lot of sexy movies. You mentioned Private Passions. You know, that was like the Sylvia Kristel movies, which I'm sure you probably also saw, right?
You know I did.
Coming,
Twice.
yes, the coming
24
of age
times.
movies. I knew that. And those were the kind of movies that were, they were normal. They were normal. And actors or actresses didn't care. I mean, in Europe, nudity is something beautiful. And that was just that time. And I grew up and I did a few of those movies. And I think if you can act nude in front of a camera, you can do anything. But I was never uncomfortable doing it. I stood to it because if you agree to do it, then you have to do it, and you have to do it properly.
I think that, I think that when somebody walks into a room, whether there's a camera there or not, and they look like Sybil Danning, then it's everybody else around you that's going to feel uncomfortable because they're like, oh my God, I can't look over there. She's going to see me looking. I know she's going to see me looking. But you know what I mean? I mean, you're Sybil Danning. You're the one with the assets. So everybody else around you was probably the ones feeling uncomfortable.
Well, I made them feel comfortable. And I just said, hey guys, I don't think I have anything you haven't seen before. Okay? So just cool it.
Well, you know what? There's a big difference between seeing Sybil Danning and the National Geographic Explorer. Okay, so yeah. I mean, you can see naked people, but when they look like you do, it's a big difference. But so, off of the sexual stuff.
I can see naked people. Is that the paranormal part we were talking about today? Finally got to that.
I see naked people. Yeah, it's just one of the things. I mean, your career actually has, helped shape and mold people into what today's industry is. A lot of the movies that come out today, I see lots of movies trying to bite on things that you've done in the past. And I'm old enough to where I've seen these movies done and I go, that's just like a movie that I've saw before already. There's so much of that going on. Let me ask you one question on Hollywood, and I really hope that I'm not offending anybody. Why the fuck does Hollywood keep remaking movies that have been remade 100 times before? We've got 20 Spider-Mans. We've got, Batman keeps changing. Where is the originality in Hollywood? What happened? Why are there so many remakes?
Well, I'm thinking the same thing, because everything I'm doing with this vampire movie, I don't see other vampire movies. I won't talk about other ones. I just want to create in my own mind what I think is what I'm bringing without seeing anything else. That is a danger, but I don't want to do something somebody else has done or try and rip them off. Now, with it's mainly the studios, because studio movies have become so expensive that they want to stick with what works. So if Spider-Man work, then we're going to make 29 until they don't work anymore, because we know if we're going to make a Spider-Man for $200 million, it better bring in $1 billion,
right?
And that movie will. So if they come tomorrow, I have a wonderful project that somebody gave me. I gave it to a couple of very top directors, and they don't want to do it because it's new. It's new. It's a little bit dark, but it's wonderful. And nobody, if you can't get a director to do it that can have a say with the studio, even then you can't break in. So then they'll come to, they'll come to a big director and say, hey, you want to do another Men in Black or something? They'd rather do that because they get paid well. The studios know that it's a sure thing. It's a big risk for the studios to do something new because it's unknown.
Right.
And nobody wants to do that. It's all about money. It's all about the bottom line, So basically they're going on the guarantee instead of originality. Yes. You can be original when when you do little movies. You can do that. That's a good, because the Blair Witch Project was nothing. Somebody running around in the woods hadn't been done before, and all of a sudden that was a phenomenon. Right.
Cost them like $12,000 or something like that to make it, and it just totally made everybody very happy at the end. Same with Paranormal Activity. The first one didn't cost any money, and it just made a whole land. But again, those are original movies. It just, how many times are people gonna? I'm a big Hellboy fan, and I don't understand why they're redoing it instead of continuing on with it. I mean, I loved the Hellboy movies. Why not make a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6? That's fine, but they're starting it over with different actors, and I just don't understand that. I mean, and I'm also a huge Star Wars fan, and I've gone through the whole, catastrophe of the prequels to, where we are now. But when they came back and they continued on with the saga, it should send a message to Hollywood that people want to continue on. We don't want to relive it. We just want to. We want to hear more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Can you do that one more time? Can you do that one more time?
Mm-hmm.
I always knew. Listen, everybody listening. I always knew one day in my life, Sybil Danning would say "mm-hmm" to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're an amazing, amazing woman. Extremely talented. Thank you for everything that you've put out and continue to do. You are a force.
Thank you, Dave. And may I put out my new website?
Absolutely. Please plug away.
So for you all to go out there and look at my Ruger comic book and everything else that I have on my website, I'm very happy. I have a new website. I think you'll love it. It is SybilDanning.net. Then SybilDanning/Twitter.com. And also SybilDanning/Facebook.com. So please go there, and thank you so much to all my fans out there for being loyal. And I will continue to do what I can to make you happy, and I'll be around as long as you want me to. And
Absolutely.
Dave, thank you too.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was an honor. This has been my favorite show I've ever done, because I actually spoke to somebody who helped me through my childhood and actually gave me calluses.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that.
Absolutely. Sybil, you are an amazing woman, an amazing talent. Thank you so much for spending an hour with us on a Friday night. I hope the rest of your evening is very relaxed or very hectic, whatever it is you do in Hollywood. But I have to thank you so much. I would love to have you back on in the future when your books are released. I would love to have you back.
Or also the vampire movie.
Absolutely.
Yes. I would love to do that, and we will pick up then. And happy holidays to you, your family. Happy holidays to all my fans out there.
Thank you,
Thank you for having me on.
Have a great night.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Yes. God, she was amazing. She's amazing. She's just one of those chicks from my childhood that... Yeah. With all due respect, what a fucking class act. I mean, honestly, I love having people like that on. It shows the real side of them. And God, could you imagine her memoir, her biography book of how many people in Hollywood tried to get in her pants? Holy shit. Could you just imagine? But back then, people... I'm sure. Not only does she have great everything, I'm sure she got a great left hook and a great right hook to knock people back into place, because that's how things were back in the day. Everybody wasn't quite so sensitive. But again, man, listen, everybody, thank you for tuning in and listening to this wonderful woman. And if I offended anybody by any of my questions, the only person I'll be sorry to is Sybil. So fuck off.
Thanks for tuning in to 51 Areas Talk Radio. See you next week.